No surprises, Minister, but I'm disappointed with your first outing as Minister for the Environment in opposing this bill and as using the money message in a way to prevent it going forward. Most of it's been said much better than I could by Deputy Murphy. But what often gets overlooked in this argument is the last point that Deputy Murphy made, is that the fact that conventional plastic is made from fossil fuels and that the industry is controlled by the fossil fuel industry. And one interesting thing I found out researching this was a byproduct of shale gas, which is now hugely practiced across North America, is where they bring ethane and propane together in a cracking facility and produce ethylene. And that ethylene is what makes most of the plastic products nowadays. And because shale gas is the most cost-effective way of producing ethylene in the US nowadays, the US and the oil industry in it are actually pushing up the manufacture of gas at a level that is quite frightening. We expect the production of plastic to increase over the next 20 years by 4 times. So by 2050 we are going to see a quadrupling of the production of plastic on the planet. Now, I want to argue that recyclers and individuals and campaigners who care about the environment, the school children that Deputy Martin talked about earlier on, are not the polluters. The polluters are the producers, and it is the producers that we have to keep an eye on. But unfortunately, your display is to lie down in front of them and say, oh, there might be unforeseen consequences to the industry. And no doubt the industry lobbies the likes of you, Minister, to make sure that they keep their lucrative position in all of this. But just as proposals to continue offshore drilling and gas and the bill that will come before the committee over the next while, and proposals that your government are going to oppose, I believe, ignore the fact that the world needs to move to renewables. Ignoring this means that the plastic industry are refusing to recognise the social and political demand of the citizens of this planet to do something about it. And I do think it behoves our government to make a lead on that. One other point I'd like to make is on the waste management industry, because it was said by the previous minister that this may have unforeseen consequences for the waste management industry in terms of them losing profits and therefore maybe having to pass on the cost of that to people paying their bin charges. We have to absolutely reject that. This is the industry of Tony Soprano. This is the industry of cutthroat competition that make vast profits, keep their companies offshore. We don't even get to see their profits, and they push up the costs all the time. And that is why it is really important that we begin to make the argument that waste management must be taken back into public control, so that it's accountable and that the systems that they use in countries like in Scandinavia and even in cities across America, systems of recycling and reusing and ending single-use plastics can be implemented by a public accountable body and not by a cutthroat waste management industry that you seem to be so concerned about with the money message.